The Golden Age of Athens, characterized mainly by one of the most influential statesmen in the history of the world, the great orator and military genius Pericles. With the funds of the Delian League he founded, Pericles crafted an ancient Athenian megalopolis. He alone was known as the first true citizen of Athens, and thus the period in which he dominated the political landscape of his city-state bears his name. Welcome to the age of Pericles. Despite his martial focus and militaristic genius, he was able to promote the arts and was able to instill that same transcending Athenian culture which has been perpetuated to our days. From the smoldering ashes and decrepit ruins of the Persian wars, he rebuilt his city's Acropolis along with one of the greatest architectural marvels known to man, the Parthenon. Thanks to him, Athens was set apart from the remainder of the known world in terms of sheer power and majestic beauty. Though, per his democratic mentality, he did not withhold this power for himself, but distributed it among his fellow citizens.
Ancient records state that Pericles was born to the politician Xanthippus and Agariste, who was of a very rich and noble family. He was born in the Deme of Kolargos, north of Athens, and was of the Achaementis tribe. She was actually the niece of the great Athenian reformer Cleisthenes, and, in fact, it was because of the Agariste that Xanthippus was so able to mount the political ladder with such ease. It is even said that a few days before having Pericles, Agariste had a vivid dream of birthing to a lion.
His youth was consecrated to his studies. He learned music and was particularly interested in philosophy. He was taught by Anaxagoras, and therefore it is thought that the latter instilled in his young charge the legendary charisma, reasoned thought, and rhetoric which resulted in this incredible political man. Pericles himself, in one of his discourses, attributed his self-control and calmness to his mentor, Anaxagoras.
Hello, I'm Olaf von Schnurberheisen, and today I'll be talking to you about Pericles. Here we go. So I'll be reading an excerpt from my book, bestseller, Pericles. Due to his lineage, Pericles was destined for Athenian politics. He first entered the political fray in 472 BC, when he funded the production of the play Pericles. This not only showed that he was a very wealthy man, yet, due to the fact that the play demonized Simon, the leader of the Conservative Party, his political slant towards the opposing Democratic Party became quite evident. Later, in 461 BC, as this latter party took the Areopagus by popular storm under the leadership of Alphiades, Pericles began to make his mark by cajoling the public with his charismatic discourse. Later that year, he even succeeded in ostracizing his enemy Simon by influencing the assembly with his rhetorical accusations of his friendship with Spartan enemies. Therefore, he could freely impose numerous popular social policies and legislation. He imposed free admission for theatrical plays. He gave numerous wages to journeymen of the Halea, and even controversially granted the lower classes access to public affairs. These works fell under a new type of governing, a radical brand of democracy that has been the purest up to date.
Ephialtes was murdered in 461 BC. Unanimously, the people of Athens looked up to the man of the public whom all could trust for leadership, Pericles. He would remain in power until his death in 429 BC. Early in his years of leadership, the First Peloponnesian War would break out, and so ensued his first military campaign. At first, the young Strategos encountered much success alongside the forces in Megara and Argos, though he was forced to retreat to Athens after a crippling defeat in the Corinthian Gulf. Around this time, Simon also returned from exile, and despite being political enemies for so many years, Pericles and the man he had almost single-handedly ostracized collaborated on a 5-year peace treaty with Sparta. This would actually benefit Athenian government, as would mend the deep rift between Periclean liberals and Samoan conservatives in order to create a functioning bipartisan political machine that would be able to pass the test of war.
In 449 BC, Pericles united all Greek states in Athens and for the first time in Hellenic history proposed the idea of confederation, or empire, centralized in Athens in order to commonly gather resources, reconstruct infrastructures, or strengthen the defense of Greece as a whole in the face of the looming Persian shadow. If it wasn't for heavy Spartan opposition to the mandate, it would have been ratified. Such a union, powerful Greek city-state, could have potentially even rivaled Rome. Though, in the following 10 years, Pericles encountered numerous internal problems. He would have to crush several revolts and have to combat the conservatives, now led by Thucydides. Thanks to his unparalleled rhetorical skills, he was able to remain unchallenged, suzerain of political arena.
Pericles would then shift his gaze to the strengthening of the Athenian economy. He moved the Delian treasury to the city of Athens. His party would also issue the coinage decree, which imposed a brand of Athenian currency to the city-state itself and to its allies. Then, with his amassed fortune, Pericles would beautify his home city via the Acropolis, which included the Parthenon and the golden statue of Athena, constructed by the statesman's closest friend, the sculptor Phidias. Despite the fact that the use of the treasury's money was one of the largest embezzlements in recorded human history, it allowed for a much-needed revival for a city ravaged by hardship, and provided some of the most incredible artistic creations forged by the human hand. Additionally, he would initiate the fortification of Athens with the construction of the middle wall. Nevertheless, Pericles was attacked by the ecclesia for his extravagant spending of public funds. Furthermore, with another Peloponnesian War approaching, the people were unsure of the general they had once again re-elected.
Please allow me to continue reading from my book, Pericles. Here we go. According to Plutarch, King Archidamus of Sparta sent delegations to Athens demanding that the Athenians submit to the will of the Spartans. Pericles decreed that the emissaries should be barred entry into the city. The Spartans were ensuing their invasion of Attica, though, to their great surprise, Pericles had somehow convinced all Athenians to leave their residential domains to occupy the fortified urban area of the city. Much to the disappointment of the citizens, the Spartans pillaged and destroyed the unattended farming areas. In response, he attempted numerous naval attacks on the Spartans as he was unwilling to face their dominance on land. It was in the wake of these battles that Pericles delivered his great funeral oration in order to pay homage to his fallen Athenian brethren and reinvigorate the spirits of those soldiers still living. Thank you.
Our polity does not copy the laws of neighboring states. We are rather a pattern to others than imitators ourselves. It is called a democracy, because not the few, but the many govern. If we look to the laws, they afford equal justice to all in their private differences. If to social standing, advancement in public life falls to reputation for capacity, class considerations not being allowed to interfere with merit, nor again does poverty bar the way. If a man is able to serve the state, he is not hindered by the obscurity of his
The Spartans
condition.
calmed their invasion attempt, yet, to worsen matters, Attica was then hit by the plague. Also, the actions of Pericles were not judged well by his peers. He was fined and stripped of his generalship. However, being the magnanimous person that he is, he was soon washed with forgiveness and was elected as strategos once again. As his full glory was reinstated, Pericles would lose both of his sons to the plague and was completely inconsolable. Surrounded by his friends on his deathbed, he would succumb to the same fate as his sons in 429 BC. Even Thucydides, leader of the opposing party, mourned the loss of such a great leader. Per his words, Pericles was the flickering flame of Athenian grandeur and glory.
The lasting physical legacy of Pericles is best witnessed in the innumerable literary, theatrical, architectural, and artistic works of the Golden Age. The breathtaking ruins of the Acropolis remain to this day a true symbol of the incredible populistic leader Pericles was. His brand of democracy and support of free speech remained the shining beacon for all to emulate. He has been heavily criticized throughout the ages for his embezzlement, his populistic ideals, and even his immense forehead. Though, in terms of his legacy, he is often described as the ideal politician whose influential and emotional discourses have inspired people for more than 2,000 years.